Recording. Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Argo contributors meeting. So I'll go ahead and share my screen with the document. Let's see. All right, great. So we have a pretty packed agenda today. So let's just get right into it. Hari, you wanted to discuss?
Yeah, I think let's wrap this up quickly today, as we have so many items. I think for Trizen discussion, the last week is Leo and Ishita. You guys want to quickly share if there is any feedback? Otherwise, we'll stick the primary and secondary for the week and we'll move on.
Sure, Hari. So last week, the volume was not much for discussions. There was one Q&A and two general questions which were asked. So I could answer two of them. One of them was regarding rollouts. So one of that pending. It was not as a Q&A. It was just a question which was added. So one of that was left and added. The one which I've added in the chat, I've added that to 2.2 milestone. Yeah, that's it from my side. And triaging was fine.
The rollouts one, is it the question about ingress not responding? That the one that you're mentioning?
The ingress one, right?
Yeah, I wanted to ask Jesse if this is maybe probably similar to the problem that we were facing, because this is maybe I can send the link. Let me share in the chat. So this is the one, I guess.
Right, this one.
Yeah.
Okay, I saw this same channel in, sorry, I saw the same message in the Slack. I didn't notice it in the discussions. So something didn't add up here. They mentioned that the rollout or the application was in a suspended state, but nothing in this rollout, they don't have anything that could cause it to become in a suspended state. So I don't sure if it's incomplete. It does kind of look incomplete because they have labels and nothing is under labels. But I don't believe anything rollout controller is doing wrong right now. At least there's nothing that could cause it to be suspended, and that's what I asked in the Slack.
Okay, I was thinking more about the ALB case that we were trying to fix, if this was maybe something related to that or not. But yeah, there's not much.
No, they're using basic Canary, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Canary without traffic management, I remember. Okay. So this rollout is essentially kind of like a rolling update, and we don't even touch or care about any service stuff. Like they don't even specify service for us to modify. So the only thing we're doing is bringing up pods, and so the only possible bug that could be here is if we brought down a pod before it could be up. So they only have one replica, and so if we deleted that and then brought the other one, that could be what they're seeing. But I'm pretty sure that's working. If they have max surge 25%, we'll surge up, and then max unavailable 0. I think we'll also make sure there's always 1. Anyways, I responded in Slack to this, so I think this one needs more information. I'll paste my response in this thing as well.
Oh, thanks.
Just one more thing. There is one more issue I've just added in the chat. Just wanted to know, like, would that be a good candidate for 2.2? Like, I went through this one. It's regarding Helm. So the user has just added all the issues which he has seen in the past in this issue. So do we think this could be done for 2.2?
Looks like it, right? Yeah, it looks pretty bad. Am I right that can you please give a quick summary? So is it correct that we just the feature that's supposed to supply kube version and API version is not implemented the right way?
That's what the user was mentioning in this. I didn't get time to reproduce it, but yeah, I thought of taking a look later on this one. So just wanted to know, I could invest some time on this one this week and discuss the next week if we could add this for the next release.
Yes, I definitely know that we have a lot of complaints recently about this particular problem, and I guess that issue is like a summary. So I tend to believe it's true. So yeah, I agree. I would add a label, and even add it to the milestone and add a label cherry pick to 2.1 because
the user also has raised a PR on a similar line. So I was trying to even review the PR, but had a little time crunch for this week. But yeah, I'll try to go through the PR too for this.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was under the impression we were doing a lot of this already.
Yeah. I feel like I also didn't get time to get there, but there was a recent change in Helm, and so like Helm.7 looks like very different from Helm 3. I think we have 4 or 6. I forgot. But basically, the minor version that we package is very different from the most recent minor version available, and if I'm not mistaken, we were hoping we had to upgrade to the latest version, and we could not upgrade because of these differences. And so, yeah, so we I think there's just last one step left to close this particular issue. At least.
Okay. So yeah, I think definitely we sounds like something we should fix. One caveat is I'm wondering if it's possible so since it could be a disruptive change, even though it's the right thing to do, will it be possible for people to say downgrade the Helm version in case?
I think it's kind of to take advantage of most recent changes in Helm to actually fully support kube version and API versions. We need to upgrade, and we could not upgrade because of some just the upgrade is not that smooth. In order to upgrade, we have to make changes in Argo CD code so that it works with newest Helm version. Yeah, so I suspect that we will need to maybe just upgrade to most recent version of Helm, and then I'm looking forward to see what that user made in a pull request.
Right, because I think they may have to conditionally add the flags depending on Helm version, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But because my point is that I think it might be we may want a way to say someone upgrades and like, oh no, I'm not ready for this difference in rendering of my templates. Let me stick with Helm 3.6. At least I think if they have a Helm 3.6 binary, that we should not break their experience.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but it sounds like something we should do, but provide a escape patch in case 3.7 has its own issues.
All right. Great. Was there anything else that we wanted to discuss from the triage and discussion? Okay, great.
Can we fix the primary and secondary for the week?
Yep, absolutely. So Ishita and Leo did it last week. So are we gonna move on to Andre and maybe Jonathan, or looks like this order might be a little bit wonky. How do we want to do this?
Yeah, we need primary main. So if anyone is interested in primary, then we should fix the primary. And I'm not sure like Gantry is here.
Yeah, I think you're right. Okay, Jonathan, are you here? Okay, so Jonathan's not here. Let's see. Jesse, have you done it recently? I feel like you might have done it recently.
I think I did it a few weeks back.
Okay.
Same here. I did
I-
it a long time ago, like a month ago at least.
Yeah.
Okay.
And next week is kind of bad for me.
Yeah. Alex, do you have bandwidth to do it, or have you done it recently? I didn't hear you.
I should be good. It's not that bad for me, and I did it long time ago, definitely. So I think I'm fine doing that.
Sounds good. Do you want a secondary, or are you good by yourself?
I mean, I think it's good to have a secondary. You know,
Yeah.
if someone has a bandwidth, then please join me.
Okay.
I don't mind doing the secondary this week.
Who was that speaking? Was it Ishida?
Yeah.
Okay.
Great. So we'll keep you on as secondary. Okay. Great.
Thank you.
All right. So moving on, the contributors meeting will be moved to 8:15. Alex, do you want to talk about that briefly?
Yes, so I guess we spoke about it during last meeting, and we kind of synced up offline. Looks like there is no more overlaps, and starting from the next week, I think meetings are going to be 8:15 to 9 p.m. 9 a.m.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
Great.
and I updated the calendar already.
Awesome. I think that the calendar last time I checked said 8 to 9. So
I changed it like 5 minutes ago.
Oh, okay, great. All right. Sounds good. Awesome. All right. So Jesse, you had a topic about Helm values from Git repos.
Yeah. I linked. Oh wait, sorry. I linked in Zoom chat. You can bring up the issue. There's actually multiple issues. I think all duplicating the same feature enhancement, and this is also our most popular thumbs up issue. That to catch people up, our users have a strong desire to use the Helm repo feature of Argo CD, meaning like they just pointed to a Helm chart, and then but the value files that they want to use for that Helm chart be stored in the Git repo. And today we don't support that. Our workaround is that we tell people to point their app to a Git repo, which has a Helm chart in it. And that Helm chart is an umbrella chart for, and it points to the real chart. It's not like a great workaround because the values file is actually, you can't just, you have to nest all of the fields into a into one level deeper because of the way umbrella charts work, and so it's a bit of a bad experience. So this feature request is to support Helm repos, but with value files that are stored in Git, which on paper sounds pretty easy or like a good idea. The challenge is that this will be the first time Argo CD has to deal with two repositories for an application. It has to deal with the Helm repository, which is monitoring the tip of to determine if like, oh, did anything change with respect to the version or and stuff. And then today we cache that, like we cache the tip and then we checked if something changed. Now, if we're referencing something in a Git, we also have another thing that can change. So that's the technical reason why I probably never did anything about this, but it is a strong use case that I think we should address. So to summarize, I think we should do it, but I think there's two considerations that need to be made. One is the caching problem, caching both the like basically if anything changes the head of the Git values file repo, or if the Helm repo changes, then we need to invalidate cache. And then second, there's like I think there's an RBAC consideration as well, because our project repo allow list that I feel needs to be respected if they're pointing to sources of truth that is, not in the allow list. So that's what I wanted to bring up. I wanted to get other perspectives on this.
I think I feel like maybe my main reason why we are not accepting that PR is because it introduces a lot of like a possibility of a bug and support work just for one edge case. So but I agree with you that it has so many evidence that it is required. But I would try to find a way to, if we introduce support for kind of 2 repositories, I would not limit it to Helm. Maybe like we also heard requests to support multiple sources. And my feeling is that amount of work would be almost the same, whether we support multiple sources in general or support Helm and Git, it's like almost the same amount of work.
Yeah.
And
one thing to consider is that there's actually a PR outstanding for this that hasn't gotten the attention. And then, well, I think I agree with what you're saying. I don't know if the contributor will have the to be able to extend it in that flexible manner. Especially if I'm going to ask them to raise a requirement and say, hey, we also need RBAC consideration here and also Git caching consideration.
That's the biggest problem. And yeah, like as soon as you introduce Git caching, it actually 2 levels of caches, like we cache revisions and then we cache content, like we're trying to not to generate content twice. So yeah, then that PR will suddenly become more complex. And I suspect that it can be almost as complex as if we were trying to just support multiple Git.
So one question I have, like, one of the suggestions in the PR was to merge this, or close to as is, without the caching, and then in the description, the person said they would follow up with that. They don't mention it as caching. They mention it as detection when the Git repo changes. Are we okay with a split commit in that way, or do we want? And the same goes with RBAC. My concern is that this comes in and then the other stuff never gets done, and then now we have.
I would push back. I feel like I would maybe consider split commit if we were in a perfect shape already. If we had all the Helm related bugs fixed and there were no caching related issues. But right now we have 2 outstanding potential regressions in 2.1. One is couple users complained. Okay, not couple, like, there was an issue created. And I think a couple people confirmed that they saw it in production. So there is a possibility we cache Git LS remote for too long. Or I think it's a edge case. Maybe the feeling is that we cache it appropriately, but maybe we resolve. So basically, if users use feature branches and they rewrite history, then sometimes Argo CD tries to check out commit which no longer belongs to any branch. Yeah, and then we got to fix it first. And then we just spoke about Helm issues. So basically, I feel like answer is yes, maybe it's okay to merge it, but we just should. I don't want to introduce instability into already unstable portion of a system. So it's just due to Bentis, like we were kind of busy recently with the KubeCon, and I was hoping to jump on bug fixes and like fix bug fixes first, and then try to review.
This is what I think. I think I'm okay splitting the RBAC into a separate one, but I think I really want to make sure that the caching is part of this one.
Yeah, I agree, because
So the RBAC actually seems like we could that actually doesn't seem too terrible to do like quickly after as a follow-up. But I really want to make sure that RBAC is and like sorry, the caching is considered as part of this one. But okay, so in summary, I think I'll respond that we discussed this. We'll agree to kind of proceed and
but did I get it right that we kind of committing to prioritize it, but prioritize bugs first and then this PR?
yeah, I mean we won't be actually doing the work on this, I guess, but I guess we'll need to provide reviews for this person.
And yeah, it's just okay. Based on previous experience, changes in this area of Argo CD usually follow up with a bunch of bug fixes. So even if we review it carefully and test it carefully, there will be gotchas with that we learn afterwards. And
yeah.
So.
Okay.
But basically, it sounds like we want to try to make it a part of 2.2, right? That's the.
Yeah. That's what I mainly want to get out of this is that is at least we decide like, yes, we'll do it. And then it may take some time to power through this PR because I like you said, there's probably a lot of things that weren't considered or maybe bugs. And but at least we can respond to the community and say like this, we discussed it, we agree to go forward with this. Oh, and the other thing we need to we can do this off asynchronously, but the proposed specification, I think at the very least we owe it to the contributor to agree on syntax. And I looked at it; it looked okay with me. And yeah, it was pretty straightforward, right?
Like just another. I want to try one more time. How do you think if we consider introducing multiple sources and kind of, like kill two birds, or how is it? Basically, if we introduce field sources, and so it can has either Git repo or Helm repo, and then we make sure, so it kind of provides two opportunities. Like it can be not two, it can be like many sources, basically. That's already, it's better than, in this particular, and it won't have to be just Helm, it can be mix of Helm and Git. And so you get two features, so you can combine multiple sources. Plus
that feature I think would be nice to have. A lot of times people want a Helm chart and then they want like a namespace, but they want that namespace to also have like some annotations and stuff like that. And then so they need to GitOps their namespace, but they also need to GitOps their Helm, or they want a Helm chart, and we don't. That experience is also a little.
Yeah, and we could support this particular use case if we, let's say, we clone all repositories into these predicted names. Like we would create a temp directory for a combination. I'm just thinking loud. Like let's say if you can use relative paths in Helm repo and kind of step out of the Helm repo, and you should expect that all the sources mentioned in this particular app spec available through some stable relative path. Then we'll support this use case as well as multiple sources, and it might be same amount of work almost, and it's no longer specific to Helm.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, so the change we would have to ask this person to do then would be
rewrite everything from scratch.
well, yeah, because when they ask, yeah,
I mean, it's we can at least if I feel like maybe that person spent so much time, I guess maybe because that feature is so much required, so the person is willing to keep pushing it. What if we at least offer a solution and we pursue it in 2.3? Maybe it's,
And just do it ourselves, are you saying?
yes.
Yeah, I don't mind that approach either. Okay, then if that's the case, what I can respond is here are the requirements that we have for us to merge this feature in, like the RBAC, the framework for multi-repo support, and see if they're willing to kind of keep going with this. If not, then we can commit it to the following release, but not maybe 2.2.
Yeah, I also, I'm kind of in the background, I'm trying to find that request to support multiple sources. I cannot even find it right now. So I would, I just wanted to consider it, have discussion about this as an alternative way to approach it. Yeah, so I guess I will just comment in the.
Yeah, but I will say that if I feel like
it's just, yeah, I'm trying to.
Yeah, I think I know where you're coming from, because if we're going to do cache detection of multi-repos, then we should do that more generically and then lay the groundwork for multi-sources support. And then
I'm just thinking, yeah, since we're committing to introduce, kind of do that work and support it, and I'm trying to find a way to take the most out of it. Yeah. And so that's kind of one way to make it. It makes it a little bit more complicated, but potentially more useful.
Yeah. All right, I think I have enough what I need from this discussion to do it, and it sounds like we are I think we're on the same page actually. I'll respond in the bug, and then I'm gonna duplicate like all of the issues to that one, the one with the most thumbs up. There's actually like 4 issues all asking for the same thing.
I think the most popular, it has actually 170 thumbs ups.
Yeah.
All right, great. So in summary, we're going to agree to go forward with this for 2.2 and tell the contributor that we'd like it to meet these requirements that we've discussed. And if he can't do that, then we'll target it for 2.3 to do ourselves. All right, great. Okay, so next topic is from Regina, DigitalOcean's Hacktoberfest. So do you want to discuss this, Regina?
Yeah, I just think we did it last year, I believe, but just opening up Argo CD as like I don't exactly know how you do it, but able to count towards contributions.
I've had a conversation, like at Intuit, we had internal request to support that event, and I feel like I also want to participate, at least like, I feel like for us to participate, we just need to go through outstanding issues, find good for new contributors, and add Hacktoberfest label to them.
Yeah, I think it just has to have the label added to it and maybe just register, but it shouldn't, I don't think it's that much effort.
Do you know, is it, I didn't spend any time to understand, like, I don't know how it works. I still don't know what is the relationship between Intuit and DigitalOcean Hacktoberfest. How come it's at the same time? It is at the same time. Is it like a?
I mean, yeah, DigitalOcean just runs it, but it's supposed to promote contributions to open source and get people involved in open source.
I think it's like a more of an industry-wide.
Yeah, it's not specific to any. I think Intel is part of it too, but it's not specific to any company necessarily.
Yeah, so but at least there is push from a couple sides to yeah, so I was planning to spend some time today and tomorrow and have at least a couple dozen of such issues labeled.
Awesome, thanks.
Yeah, great. And I know that the reason why I was asked to do it is because I guess Intuit will sponsor some time for developers internally, and that they will encourage them to look for these labels and contribute. So we might suddenly get, a bunch of PRs open from not experienced contributors.
Yeah.
Yes, I think it is probably worthwhile, and luckily we have a large enough community that we can, and we've got some people triaging, we can probably go and knock them out and spamming. But just to turn it on, I think all you do is add a label to the repo. It's not an issue level thing, it's just a repo level thing.
Oh, repo.
Okay. Yeah. It's something like that.
You can put up issues and label them for Hacktoberfest if you want new people to take them, but as the lowest bar, all you do is add the Hacktoberfest label to your repo.
And I think I don't know what does it mean to label repo. Maybe
It's on the topics, but I can.
Oh, okay. So the topic has to be. Thank you. So it's kind of to let the whole world that you are participating, to let everyone know that. Okay.
All right, great. So yeah, we'll label the repo, and I do remember last year we added a bunch of Hacktoberfest labels to the Good First issue. So I think that's a good practice to continue. Okay, so Pasha, you have the topic for resource tracking changes. You wanted to give a demo?
Yep. Hi everyone. Could you share my screen, please?
Yeah, here I'll stop the share.
Can you see my screen now? Yep. So last few weeks I'm working on a feature which named change the way application resources identified. I hope some of you are already familiar with this, but I will provide a short intro and problems, what I'm solving, and motivation of this feature. So, as you know, each resource in Argo CD that's synchronized from Git repo marked with label, which named app Kubernetes IO instance. And we meet problem, and a lot of people start complaining about this issue that they cannot create. Here actually few issues that we are trying to solve, but most important of them, that first, that you cannot create application name more than 53 characters. Actually here mistake, I verified it's 53 characters, not 63. And it's not provide to customers to create long named applications. It's first issue. The second issue that already the popular Helm charts already use this label, and in case if you use some charts and not synchronize it with Argo CD identify it as own resources and show it in the UI, and it provide problems here. And third one, it's the same thing, but Kubernetes operators. So, and here few more issues, but this is main problems. So solution here, it's provide ability to switch from label to annotation. And for this, we define a tracking mode, which tracking method, which you can define on settings level and on application level. On application level, it's high, you override settings level and so on. But we have three levels. First one, we have three modes method. First one is label, it's default one. So it will be working the same. Actually, why we need it for migration. We cannot just say, okay, guys, we move everything to annotation and now everything out of sync for you. So we provide a smooth way for migration. You can go to your settings and define annotation, either annotation plus label method, or we can stay with the same way. It's not required for you if you not meet problems with application names and so on. So this is actually main idea, that you can go to your configuration map, Argo CD configuration map, and define tracking method setting and define one of this value. And from this point, Argo CD start to track resources in different way. In additional, in annotation, we start to record. Sorry, I want to find this section. Yeah, in annotation, you can see that we start record not just application name, we start define additional metrics here for provide uniqueness. So here an additional issue when the two multiple applications looking for same resource, but they can be in different namespace and so on. And in such case, it will provide you ability to solve this problem, such names. So I would briefly demonstrate it and explain what is already done and what is my next steps. So I just need to check because we have limited session. Okay, looks like it's working. So I'm going to my Argo CD config map. And you can see that here new field, application resource tracking method label. After this, I am going to Argo CD UI. And we can see that in desired manifest and in live manifest, it's the same. We use the same metric as the same label as we usually do. And now I'm going to change this tracking method. And after this, I need to hard refresh application because we do internal cache, but it will be solved. It's one of the points that I need to change. And you can see right now that resources state to be auto-sync for you because it start to track applications in another way. You can see that this still use test application name and namespace and another metrics. And before we had instance test. So after synchronization, once I done it, it will behave in the same way, but is in more reliable measure. What should be done here? All these things that I already pushed covered with unit test and end-to-end test, fully tested. But here are a few things that I want to add. First one is ability to override these settings on application level. This is first one. Second one, it's ability to define this setting, not just from CRD, not just from config map. I want to provide ability to do it from CLI and from UI. It's good point that maybe it's good place to provide some simple settings page in Argo UI, these few points. And that's it. And it will be a final stage of this feature. I definitely sure that it will be done till 2.2 milestone. I hope actually get it working in coming week, next week, because most of the work already done here. So that's what we have right now.
I see a bunch of questions from JC. I can answer some because I think it's kind of, I might know the answer better because I was working on proposal. I will skip first, JC, we can discuss the name, I guess. But so one question is, why do we have it on app level and system level? And that was for migration, basically. We were hoping that as soon as feature is released, we can, mention in upgrade notes and in release blog that we want everyone to eventually migrate to annotations. And so they will have an option to start enabling it on application level one by one. And then maybe in next release, we can change default so that people will have now an option to switch to label resource tracking method for some applications. And then in the third release, we can finally maybe just drop that setting and get rid of old deprecated method if we decide to deprecate. So it's kind of a way to make this transition smooth. Yeah.
But what is the not smooth thing about controlling this at the system level and saying
if you want migrate just one application, you will not be able to do it. Imagine that you have few thousands of applications and you want to try this feature and migrate only one application for now. So application level will provide you such ability. That's what we decide.
Oh no, but that part is what I don't understand. It's like, why would someone enable this feature at an app level? If like, why wouldn't they just go to the system, say labels plus annotations, but we would maybe have a way to prevent the out of sync condition from happening, or like, because we know these fields are we control these fields and we can decide like if they should or should not factor into the out of sync status.
It's just when we switch to label plus annotation, label is not really good enough for tracking. Like, okay, it was not a question, but we have label plus annotation because we wanted to, a lot of users use label to be able to run something like kubectl get all resources dash all -l and then application name. And we just want to keep that feature. But if we switch to annotation, even if you choose annotation plus label, like we no longer use label to identify if that resource is part of application. It's kind of only for users who wants to use kubectl.
Okay, yeah, that I understand.
Human-friendly labeling, but we, because we know that label has limitation, it can be copied, it can be truncated. You don't, like, if application name is too long, so we can kind of recognizing label is not the best way to.
Yeah, that part I
yeah, and that's why.
But when would someone say, I only want to do this for app guest?
Yeah, so it's like imaginary case. If you have a lot of users and one of them, like, is a difficult user and he's like, no, don't touch me. I don't want to be migrated right now. So you can do it in waves. Like you can migrate whole Argo CD to that new way, except one particular user who prefer to stay. Yeah, and I feel I understand that it's like additional complexity, and the pull request.
That user, did they?
No, it's we just had a kind of discussion and we were trying to see, okay, how do we ask people to migrate to that new feature, and that's why, like, first decision that we made is it has to be controlled by some setting, and then we try to imagine, okay, like, is it enough or not? And so we propose to have application level setting as well, because it's kind of not too difficult to it. Yeah.
Is it at how does how does someone opt in on the app level to say, I want to be tracked this way?
Set it on we're introducing a new field in application spec, and that field is tracking method. So you can kind of override how this particular application track resources. Yeah, in the application spec.
I see. It seems that app level tracking isn't something that actually, when it doesn't seem like a concern for say like a developer to say, like, they don't even know or care usually, like, how things are getting
it's kind
associated. And if I've originally thought it was an issue of user experience, like if we were suddenly there's things went all out of sync just because an operator decided. But that part I think we can address in the implementation to accommodate for, like, oh, we don't show something as out of sync if it's the only reason it's out of sync is because the global setting changed. Like, I feel like there's mitigations we can do there to make the transition smoother.
It's okay.
But adding it to the spec seemed a little weird, because I don't think any end user would actually want to perform that. And it also might even be like undesirable behavior to for them to have that ability for some reason.
It did it, like, we kind of, the PR is not merged and it was delayed because we realized that setting kind of, it introduced one more possibility. You can have two applications managing the same resource, one using label, one annotation. So yeah, and I didn't think that, can we I think, yeah, maybe put get it. Like this pull request is not yet merged, but I agree. I think we just need to find kind of think about this another idea, like how do we prevent sudden auto sync? I like that if we can avoid having this application level setting, but still it's kind of.
Was that the motivation for having
Yeah,
it?
that's
prevent out of
the
sync?
motivation. Yeah, this is to smooth the migration because
Okay.
like, you. Yeah, but I want to think about it.
Yeah.
You know, maybe we
Yeah,
can.
at least I know from for Intuit, the developer's gonna be like, they don't know why the heck they're
Yeah, we
doing
would
it out of sync.
backfill, like internally we would backfill that value on behalf of users. Like they wouldn't,
Right.
they would not even know that. And you know, when you mentioned that, I thought that yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe it should have been done on project level. It's like a little better because you kind of most likely you would set the setting for the whole project.
Yeah.
And if you can do it,
If you are gonna do this though, it seems like it's also not a spec. I wouldn't put it in the spec because this is a transition period, and then we're it feels like we're baking something into spec that is actually temporary.
it is actually like the still setting would the setting will have two values eventually, annotation or annotation plus label. There was a concern to even keep label because people might rely on it, but we know that label is not reliable. It's not reliable because let's say we're going to truncate application name,
Right.
and so sorry, truncate label value, and so we might have in a Kubernetes cluster a bunch of resources labeled with the same label, but they would belong to two different applications. You know, if application name is extremely long and first
right
feature exists, yeah. So yeah, basically the setting will not be deleted. It will be there for forever. And I guess default value would be just annotation, and then some users might enable labeling if they want to. But it's still, yeah, it won't be application level, I guess. Yeah, it would be either.
So just for some, we all agree that we don't want to implement it on application level right now. And we need time for think about better solution.
And I think we just need to polish this, like, so Jesse have this idea that maybe we can simply be smart enough during diffing. And let's say if we detect that the only difference between, in the resource is that it is missing label. Sorry, it's missing annotation and only have label, then we don't detect it as a difference.
Yeah.
So that naturally, next time when when someone decides to sync, then
yeah, I mean, we already have kind of this framework in place because we have ignored differences. It's currently at a kind specificity, but we would need ignore differences at annotations dot app dot instance. And so the essentially to have that feature to ignore that difference, like we already have the code to help.
We have the framework is basically it's on a code level. Like you can implement yet another normalizer and exclude. Yeah.
Okay, so I will try to. I understand the idea. I will try to do it.
Yeah, the pull request question just open pull request that introduces application level setting.
Yeah, I just completed yesterday. Okay.
Sorry about
that.
No,
it's okay. It's okay. Okay.
So okay, sorry. And then last question is just curious why we need to track namespace in the ID.
So that was so I think it was not explained like in the description, but it's there in the proposal. We want to make sure that if someone copy a label from the resource, typically the typical use case is one resource is kind of a template for another one, and operators often copy all labels and all labels, honestly, and annotations actually, whole metadata from the template into the new resource. We don't want this to confuse Argo CD, and so we just decided, okay, we can the annotation value can include kind of resource ID. The resource ID of the target resource, and namespace is part of that ID. So we include name, namespace, kind.
Oh, I see. So because we already naturally use namespace as a ID, and then it's easier to just say the tracking ID is the Argo CD ID for it, or the resource ID that we have for it. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, and Argo CD can deploy resources into multiple namespaces. Same application can.
Right. Okay. I'm not aware of any operator that carries over the thing into a different namespace, so that's why I questioned.
But I think it's like we're not limit. I mean, annotation doesn't have length limitation, so we're not trying to save.
No, and I think I agree. I agree that it's a more consistent. I mean, coding wise, to just refer to this as the Argo CD resource ID, and that's just the ID. The tracking ID is the resource ID, and then that's good enough. Okay, just curious why. I thought there was a technical reason why.
No, it was just, because namespace is typically, I think we kind of just want to be safe, and like some time ago, I think we made this mistake. We didn't include namespace where we had to include it, and then we ran into problems. Actually, no, we forgot to include group, and
okay, actually, so let's move on. I was gonna propose the design system because we have Hui here, and I think I already had asked Hui to join us, and I want to respect that.
Yeah, Jesse, I think if we want to have a discussion about the design system, I think that the best place for that would be the SIG UI meeting. So next Wednesday, if you guys want to tune in to discuss about that, I think that's a good place to do that.
Okay, I just know that all members always meet this meeting, and in SIG UI just UI members. So it's
that's like actually the point.
Yeah.
That was why I suggested it, because this will kind of blow up into just a free for all of opinions, and I actually want to remove, even including myself, from those distractions.
It's okay. So I will present it on Wednesday.
And to be clear too, with that meeting, anybody that's interested can join. It's not exclusively for UI contributors. It's if you're interested, please join. So, all right, So, Hui, do you want to discuss HA support for Argo rollouts then?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. So hi everyone. My name is Hui. I'm currently working at Salesforce and adopting Argo rollouts into our CI/CD infrastructure. Yeah. So for this feature, I just want to provide a little bit context in this work. So when we adopting the Argo rollouts in our production system, one of the major concerns from the leadership team is the lack of high availability for the controller, which means there could be only one controller running in the cluster. Then we find that there was actually an existing PR that implemented the HA. However, this PR was submitted back in early June, and now has many conflict with the existing status of the code base. So yeah, and also since the original author seems no longer working on the PR, so we decided to take over the work from him, resolve the conflict, test the PR, and made a new one. Yeah, of course, the original authorship is still preserved in this PR, so the author doesn't lose any credit. So this implementation follows the standard approach in most Kubernetes controllers. So we use the leader election package from client Go the client Go library, which basically determine the leadership based on the ownership of a least object in the cluster. That means at any time, the replica that holds the lease become the primary controller, and then it can enter the controller's reconciliation loop In addition, the primary controller need to refresh its leadership in some configurable time interval, say 15 seconds by default. The other replica cannot start the reconciliation loop. They keep retrying acquiring the lock in configurable time interval. I think by default we set 5 seconds. Then if the master replica is done and cannot be restarted, that means the master cannot renew the lease lock. Then one of the replica will acquire and take over the lock and start its controller's reconciliation loop. Yeah, so in this implementation, although we provide a command line option to disable the HA feature, this feature is enabled by default due to 2 reasons, and I explain in the comments in this PR. Firstly, defaulting to HA is backward compatible. This is because when there is only one instance, this instance will be elected as the primary node. So there's no impact on the existing deployment manifest. Secondly, defaulting to true make it easier for the user to switch to HA, because the only change they need to make to the deployment manifest is to increase the replica to larger than 1.
Oh, okay. So even though HA is enabled by default, they can still run with 1 replica?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, yeah. That was going to be my concern, but I think that's
yeah. I think Harry asked the same question, and I explained in the PR.
Good. Okay.
Yeah, and last but not least is there is an ongoing work which to add a new health check pod to the controller, because currently the Argo in the deployment manifest we kind of using Argo rollout the metric pod for liveness check, right? With the multiple replicas running in the cluster, then only the primary instance can expose the metrics, say to promises. So we need to distinguish between the health checking part and the metric exposing part. So I filed a PR I filed an issue in the issue list.
Oh, so are you saying that if you run with multiple replicas for the controller and all 3 are exposing metrics, are we tripling the counts collected? Or
yes, if we don't we are not tripling actually. If the request come to the non-primary instance, then the count basically is 0, right? It's inaccurate.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, but
oh, I see. Because the leader is the one incrementing that counters in memory.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, got it.
Yeah, and I also look at the other controller which have this HA feature. They typically expose 2 ports. One is the health port, the other is the metric port. So trying to follow the same approach.
Okay.
In this, yeah.
Is that part of this PR or a separate PR? The health check.
It's a separate PR, and I haven't started working on that currently. It's just in progress. Yeah. Okay. But I created the issue.
Okay. And you're okay with this being in 1.2? Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's all I have for today.
Thank you for presenting it. I think it's great. I think going forward, I think we'd like to have any features coming from the contributors outside. I think we would like to present it here so that we'll have better discussions. Again, like what we have today. So yeah, thanks for this. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's great.
Oh, while we're here, are there any rollout outstanding stuff for the 1.1 release that need to go in? Like Harry, I saw Andre just tried to fix something with the SEO virtual servers. It sounded like a bug that should be also part of 1.1.
Yes, it's a regression, I think. Yeah. So I think yesterday Alex made one release cut 2. with a couple of bugs. But from the community, I don't really see any other bugs. So we're hoping like we'll look at some more bugs if found.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I think we should be good.
Maybe
And we are not putting any features in here after the release cut, so it will only bugs at regressions.
does it sounds good if we just wait till Friday, and on Friday we can cut the release if no one reports anything new?
By the way, so there I think Alex Hendrik mentioned that they would like to release it during the KubeCon week. I'm not sure Hendrik is there. So I think on October 11th or so. So mostly they would like to announce rollouts 1.2, 1.1 as a part of that KubeCon announcement.
Okay. Yeah, if there is like a reason to delay it a little bit. I mean, it's not for too long, right? KubeCon is almost here. So.
Right. That's the rationale, Henrik had. Okay, one more that I see is config management plugin 2.0. Short answer is there hasn't been much progress. We the engineer that was working on that had to take a leave, and then they kind of went in limbo for since then.
Right, so I believe there was a PR up.
Yes.
I think May put one up a while ago, a couple months ago.
It's actually started by, I think Shama started working on it, and May kind of she contributed, like she took over that PR and made it progress a little further, and now she is also busy doing some stuff to supporting Argo CD into it. So it's just there is no we don't have an actively working person on it right now.
Okay, so it sounds like maybe you could use some help then.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, maybe I'll see what I can do. Do we know, is the PR that May put up, is that, I guess it's not complete. I mean, I know it's got some conflicts, but is there still more work to be done beyond what's in the PR?
And I know that, yeah, and then I think we were hoping to, we knew that it will take several PRs to even, do what we plan in the proposal. Yeah. So
okay, so
the
this
PR is not implementing everything. I think it's it's like a first step.
Okay. So I guess who should I talk to if I want to see if I can help out here?
I think yes, I will think up. I think May is the good person. She can maybe we can ask May to present, the progress in next, or we can do it offline. We can just ask her and see, where we are right now, and yeah, and then maybe try to wrap up the PR that exists, and then try to split work. Yeah,
okay,
but
so
we definitely need help. Like we were hoping to get it in next release, and we still have, I think, 2 weeks of coding and 2 weeks of testing. If we, if we just try to release on time. Yeah.
okay. Yeah. So I guess we can discuss this further in Slack. Is Slack the best way to talk about this?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Sounds good. Thanks.
All right. Well, thank you guys. I think that's all the topics we had for today. So I'll go ahead and stop.